Hello, let me create the poll. Okay, so we're reading Genesis chapter 30 to 40. Let's go. So yesterday we had a lot of meat in chapter 20 to 30. It was a lot of meat in those chapters. So I'm gonna go back to 30 because yesterday we got to 30 and we had to go. We did 3.5 hours yesterday. So let's see. All right. Chapter 30. Now, when Rachel saw that she had bore Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister and said to Jacob, "Give me children, or else I'll die." So dramatic, right? And Jacob's anger was aroused against Rachel, and he said, "Am I in the place of God? Like, am I God who can withhold you from the fruit of your womb? Like, can I control whether or not you had children or not?" Bless you. This is what Jacob is saying to Rachel. Like, I can't. God bless you. This is what Jacob is saying to Rachel. Like, I can't control that. And so she said, "Here is my maid Bila. Go into her, and she will bear a child on my knees. Also, that I may have children through her." Then she gave him Bila, her maid, as a wife, and Jacob went into her. Listen, you know what's wild? A Bible. Bible. We're reading a Bible. That's what's in my hand. Bible. So you know what's wild is that back in Bible times, a woman had a decision to offer her husband to another woman to have to have uh intimacy. So and Bela conceived and bore Jacob a son. Then Rachel said, "God has judged my case, and he has heard my voice, and he has given me a son." Therefore she called his name Dan. And Rachel's maid Bela conceived again and bore Jacob a second son. Then Rachel said, "With great wrestling I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed." So she calls his name Naphtali. First of all, let's get into some details. Rachel chose to give her husband another woman as a wife, right? And she's sitting here saying that with great wrestle, she wrestled against her sister and she prevailed. Like, it was no wrestle, it was no fight. You, in a sense, cheated because you gave your husband another woman so your maidservant, your mistress, could have a child for you. So it just was really catty, honestly. It was really catty between Leah and Rachel. And it's interesting because Jacob wanted Rachel, right? He never desired to have Leah, but he got Leah as, let's just say, a gift. And Leah is the one that's bearing him children, and Rachel is not. All right, so now, then Rachel said, "With great wrestling I have wrestled with my sister, and indeed I have prevailed." So she calls his name Naphtali. Naphtali. Hola, ¿cómo está? Estoy vesta incredible. Estoy bien. Um, why do this page keep changing? Hi, you guys. When Leah saw that she had stopped bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob as a wife. And Leah made Zilpah bore Jacob a son. Then Leah said, "A troop comes." So she called his name Gad. And Leah made Zilpah bore Jacob a second son. Then Leah said, "I am happy, for the daughters will call me blessed." So she called his name Asher. Keep in mind these names that Leah and Rachel are coming up with for their sons, because these are the sons of the 12 tribes, right? So they're naming their children after basically a war, right? Because they were wrestling between each other regarding who can have the most children by Jacob. Because back in biblical days, back in ancient days, when Jacob was a prophet, and I don't know why I just got I froze. But back in the days when Jacob was a prophet, in those times, the more children you have, the more sons you were able to conceive. That meant you were better in a sense. That meant you were prestige, right? So they're naming their sons, which will end up being the sons of the 12 tribes. They're naming them after like um warriors, right? Leah named Gad, a troop comes. Leah, they named Asher, the daughters that call me blessed. So they're naming their children after like the things that they're going through in that time. So now Reuben went in the days of when now Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest and found mandrakes in the fields and brought them to his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, "Please give me some of your mandrakes." So I had did some research on mandrakes and what they were. They were actually herbs. So mandrakes are herbs, right? That was helping women bear children. So back in the day, clearly they were trusting these herbs to be fertile. Excuse me, they were trusting these herbs to help them bear children. So like nowadays we have things like, or I've seen women take things like yoni pearls and stuff like that, so that way they can produce children. Well, back in Bible days, they took this herb called mandrakes, and that would help them produce children. Now, these mandrakes were only able to be pulled up by a certain group of people, because if you pulled them up the wrong way, you can literally die. So they were very dangerous, right? So the fact that Reuben had the ability to take up these mandrakes was a powerful thing. The fact that Reuben was able to pull up these mandrakes was a very powerful thing, because if, again, when I did my research on what mandrakes was, and I suggest you go do your research on what mandrakes was, they were herbs, right? And if a woman took this herb, she would stop being barren and she would be able to have children, right? So in a sense, they were doing witchcraft, because only a certain group of people were able to pick up these mandrakes, right? Without dying. Like if you went and picked mandrakes up, you can literally die, right? So Reuben, which is one of the sons from the 12 tribes, used to pick mandrakes. So he used to bring mandrakes to his mother, Leah. So now, because at this point, Rachel have seen Leah be so successful in conceiving and having children, that she didn't realize that that was God blessing Leah. She thought that that was the mandrakes, which is a herb, that was blessing Leah to have children. So now Rachel is becoming desperate for them, and she's like, Leah, please give me some of your mandrakes. Please give me some of your son's mandrakes, right? So they're trying to use these herbs so they can get healing. They're trying to use these herbs so that way she can stop being barren. But what Rachel is not understanding, that she's barren because God made her barren. She's not barren because she's not consuming the mandrakes or the herbs that she need to take to have children. So it's very interesting. Definitely do some research on mandrakes, right? But she said to her, it is a small matter that you have taken away my husband. So now this is Leah talking to Rachel, right? Leah is talking to Rachel like, oh, not only did you take my husband, but now you want my mandrakes too? Like, you want everything I have. But keep in mind, Jacob wanted Rachel. He worked for Rachel. So they were both ungrateful. So Leah's like, would you take away my son's mandrake also? And Rachel said, therefore he will lie with you tonight for your son's mandrakes. So now Rachel is like, I want these mandrakes so bad because I feel like if I consume these mandrakes, which are herbs, to get her pregnant, then I will be able to have children with my husband. Not realizing that this is all the works of God. This is all the hands of God. So it didn't matter what herb she was taking. If God said it was no, it was going to be no. If God said it was a yes, it was going to be a yes. Right? And it's kind of like today, day and age. Like, we do stuff thinking like, oh, this is happening because of this reason, not realizing that the whole time it's always God. So Rachel like, look, I will do anything for these mandrakes. Like, go and sleep with Jacob. Go sleep with my husband. You can have him all to yourself for tonight. As long as I get these mandrakes. Like, Leah was so bent over these mandrakes that she was willing to do whatever it took. Right? So now, when Jacob came out of the field in the evening, Leah went out to meet him and said, you must come into me, for I have surely hired you with my son's mandrakes, and he will lay with her that night. And he laid with her that night. So now Leah done sold her son's mandrakes that he could have died for. Leah sold her son mandrakes so she can spend intimacy with Jacob. So Rachel could give her a night with Jacob. Like, these sisters was going at it. Baby, they was going at it. Okay? Leah was trying to have the most sons. Rachel was trying to have kids. They were taking their midwives and mistresses to go to their husband to sleep with them so that they could have kids. They were taking herbs. They was doing whatever they had to do so they can give Jacob as much sons as he can possibly have. They were at war, and they both married to this man. So if you guys are thinking about anything outside of what God wanted us to be with one human being, read the story of Jacob. Read the story of Jacob, Leah, and Rachel, because it was just messy. It was just messy. So imagine Jacob minding his business and Leah come to him like, look, I done sold my son's mandrakes for you to sleep with me. Let's go. And God listened to Leah, and she conceived and bore Jacob a fifth son. Leah said, God has given me my wages because I have given my maid to my husband. So she called his name Issachar. Then Leah conceived again and bore Jacob a sixth son. And Leah said, God has endowed me with a good endowment. Right? Now, my husband will dwell with me because I have borne him 6 sons. So she called his name Zebulun. So again, clearly having sons was a big deal back in biblical days in Genesis era. Bearing sons was a big deal because we see these women who are sisters going at it to have as many kids as they can. Bearing sons was a big, big deal. So now, afterwards, she bore a daughter and called her name Dinah. Then God remembered Rachel. So now Leah done had 6 boys, and now she got 1 girl. So Leah got her 7 kids, 6 girls and 1 boy. We know the number 7 in the Bible is a completion number. So once Leah have gotten the complete number of children, once God completed her with children, he remembered Rachel, right? And God listened to her and he opened her womb. So, boy, that Rachel was praying. That Rachel prayed, 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 prayed. You hear me? And God remembered her and he listened to her and he opened her womb. And she conceived and bore a son and said, God has taken away my reproach. So she called his name Joseph and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass when Rachel had borne Joseph that Jacob said to Laban, send me away that I may go to my own place, to my own country. Give me my wives and my children for whom I have served you, and let me go. This sounds like something that's gonna happen in Exodus when God was telling Moses to tell Pharaoh, let my people go. So now Jacob is saying to Laban, his father-in-law, he's like, look, I don't work for my wives. I got my big family. I got more than enough kids, money, cattle. I did everything right. It's time for me to go. Like, let me go. It's time for me to go. For you know my service which I have done for you. And Laban said to him, please stay, if I have found favor in your eyes, for I have learned by experience that the Lord have blessed me for your sake. So now Laban, like, at this point, I need you to stay because I'm only receiving the blessings that I'm receiving because of you. So if you leave, I won't be able to receive no more blessings because I know that I'm only receiving these blessings because of your presence. So this is a great testimony of the fact that there's some people that's only receiving blessings because of your presence. There's some people that's only receiving grace because of your presence. There's some people receiving mercy because of your presence. So this is a great testimony. Laban is like, please stay. I've learned by experience that the Lord has blessed me for your sake. The Lord had blessed me because of you. And a lot of times you'll be in somebody's life and they think they the blessing, and the whole time you the blessing. They getting blessed because of you. Then he said, name me your wages and I will give it. So at this point, Laban think that he could pay Jacob to stay. He think that he can just offer Jacob whatever kind of money he want and Jacob would stay. Jacob is like, I'm not staying. Like, it's time for me to go. I don't care how much money you offer me. It's time for me to go. Right? So Jacob said to him, you know how I have served you, and you know I have livestock that has been with me. For what you had before I came with was little, and it has increased to a great amount. The Lord has blessed you since my coming, and now when shall I also provide for my own house? He like, all right, Laban, I did everything I could do for you. God bless you. I came, I had nothing. You had nothing. Now you have everything in abundance. I gotta go. Like, you trying to keep me. You already kept me here for over 14 years. That was never the plan. I was generous enough to give you 7. Then I turned around because you scared me. I gave you another 7. And now you still trying to get me to stay? We not doing that. Jacob was like, I did everything I could do for you. It's time for me to go. Like, I gotta go. I did everything I could do for you. So he said, what should I give you? And Jacob said, you shall not give me anything. If you will do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep your flocks. Let me pass through all of your flocks today, removing from there all the speckled and spotted sheep, and all the brown ones among the lambs, and the spotted and the speckled among the goats. And these shall be my wages. So Jacob's character has been nothing but of a humble character. Jacob has been nothing but gracious to Laban, nothing but kind. He extended him mercy, grace. He has been like amazing, going out of his way to please Laban. And now he's trying to go, and Laban is like trying to offer him everything up under the sun for him to stay. And Jacob like, let's do this, because at this point I think Jacob thinks that, I think at this point I feel like Jacob is saying to himself, all right, clearly he thinks I'm staying because he thinks that if I leave, that I'm gonna take everything with him, and I'm gonna take everything with me, and I'm not going to show him any fairness. But let me show him that he can have everything, because I want to go. Like, I want to take my wives, my kids, and I want to start my own community. Like, this is not serving me no more. It's time for me to go. I overstayed my welcome. So Jacob is like, to be fair, separate the spotted unclean, or whether they were clean or not. Take away the spotted animals and put them to the side, and take away the unspotted animals and put them to the other side, right? So this is what Jacob is saying. He's saying, let me pass through your flock, right? Remove from there all the speckled and spotted sheep. So anything that's speckled and spotted, move from the flocks. And all the brown ones among the lambs, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, there shall be my wages. So Jacob is not a stingy person. Like, he's not trying to do Laban dirty. He just really want to go. So he's even offering Laban, like, look, I'll take all the unclean animals and keep you with everything else. Just let me go. Like, right? So my righteousness, and we know righteousness means faith. He said, so my righteousness will answer for me in the time to come. Jacob is like, I'm doing this based on faith. Like, I'm offering you all these animals. And back in those days, animals was income, right? So he's like, I'm offering you all of these animals. I'm sorry, I was reading the comments. He was like, I'm offering you all of these animals. I don't want nothing. I'm actually taking the unclean ones, as long as you let me go. He was like, and I'm just gonna have faith that God is gonna take care of him. That God is gonna take care of me, right? So when he said my righteousness will answer for me, he's saying my faith will answer for me. Like, let my faith answer for me. And when the subject of my wages comes before you, that everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the lambs will be considered stolen. And if it is with me. And Laban said, oh, that's it. That's according to your word. So now Laban, let me tell you, this man is a trip, because Jacob just told him, like, listen, you can have all these animals. I'm going to take all the unclean animals, right? And I'm going to just count it to my faith. He was like, and when it's time for me to go, if you find any animals among my herd of animals when I leave that's not spotted, then consider me a thief. He was like, but if whatever's with me when I leave, they're going to be spotted, and they are going to be brown and he said everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the lambs, he said those will be considered stolen. So he's like, all the clean animals, all the ripe, the best of the best, If it's spotted with me when I leave, consider that I stole from you. So Jacob like, oh, all right. Well, I mean, not Jacob. Laban is like, oh, all right. Well, then in that case, let it be so. Like, because he's greedy. Like, Laban is just being greedy at this point, right? Because he was only trying to keep Jacob because of the wealth. But when Jacob said to him, you could keep all of that, then Laban was like, oh, all right, cool. Because that's what I wanted to do anyway. And Laban said, all right, well, according to your word, it shall be. So he removed that day the male goats that was speckled and spotted, all the female goats that was speckled and spotted, and everyone had the same white in it. Oh, I'm sorry, and everyone that had some white in it, and all the brown ones among the lands, and he gave them into the hands of his sons. Then he put on a 3-day journey between himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks, right? So one thing God gonna do, he gonna turn up in 3 days. That 3 day, baby, that third day. You don't want it with God's third day. When God tell you to do something and he give you 3 days, you don't want it with God with them 3 days, baby. It's something, it hit. I don't know what's going on, but them 3 days. When Esther did her fast, 3 days. Right now, we see Abraham when he was moving, 3 days. We see Jacob now, 3 days. Like, them 3 days, baby. When God said, I'm giving you 3 days, that third day, nobody is coming against God in his 3 days. God in his 3 days, baby. Huh. That third day, them pieces gonna hit every time, okay? So now there's a 3-day journey between Laban and Jacob, right? And Jacob, again, with his integrity, he fed all of Laban flocks when he left, and he did the right thing. Like, Jacob was full of integrity. If you want to learn about integrity, especially as a man, go and study the story of Jacob, because Jacob was that guy. Like, he waited for his wife 14 years. He first of all, offering 7 years worth of wages was crazy in the first place. Then he ends up offering 14 years worth of service to pay for Rachel. He told Laban he'll leave him all the good animals and he'll take all the bad ones. He fed the animals before he was leaving to leave Laban. I mean, he was just a man full of integrity, honestly. To a certain level, because he did violate Esau. I'm just saying, he did take advantage of a situation that happened between him and Esau. But for the most part, he had a great level of integrity, right? So now Jacob took for himself rods of green poplar and of the almond and chestnut trees. He peeled white strips in them and exposed the white which was in the rods. And the rods which he had peeled, he set before the flocks and the gutters. And he watered trouts where the flocks came to drink, so that they should conceive when they came to drink. So the flocks conceived before the rods, and the flocks brought forth shreked, speckled, and spotted. Then Jacob separated the lambs and made the flock's face turn towards the shriek, and then all a brown and a flock of Laban. But then he put his own flock by themselves and did not put them with Laban's flocks. So right now, Jacob is separating all the flocks, because remember, Jacob is only supposed to take the flocks that is spotted and speckled, and Laban is supposed to take the rest. Laban sees that majority, it looks as though majority of these the cattle is brown. So Laban thinks he's about to come off a great deal, but what he don't realize is things about to change. Things about that third day, baby, is about to be a big change. But when the flocks were feeble, he did not put them in. So the feebler were Laban's and the stronger ones were Jacob. Thus the man became exceedingly prosperous and had large flocks, female and male servants, and camels and donkeys. Chapter 31. Now Jacob heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob has taken away all that was our father's, and from what was our father's he had acquired all this wealth. So now Laban's son is sitting here saying that Jacob is stealing, taking everything. He's not leaving his father with nothing. And he's just making a real big deal about this. And Jacob saw the countenance on Laban's face, right? And indeed, it was not favorable towards him as it was before. So now Laban's son threw the bug in Laban's head about Jacob, talked bad about him. And now Laban is feeling some type of way about Jacob, even though Jacob went above and beyond to please him these last 14 plus years. So then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your fathers and to your family, and I will be with you. So Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah into the field to his flock. And he said to them, I see that your father's face, and that it is not favorable towards me as it was before. But the God of my father who has been with me, he told me to go back home and he gonna be with me. So we got to get up out of here. Yet your father has deceived. Okay. Sorry. And you know that with all my might, I have served your father. I've done everything for your father. I went above and beyond for your father. And yet he doesn't care. He's mad. Like, he's not showing me favor after all that I've done with your father. Yet your father, he's done deceived me. He changed my wages 10 times. 10 times. But God did not allow him to hurt me. So although he played with me, he violated me, he made me work, he did everything so bad under the sun that you could do to somebody that's being good with you. God did not allow him to hurt me. And this is like one of those Bible scriptures that God hates people who call good bad and bad good. This is like what it is. Laban was definitely showing Jacob bad, and Jacob was showing Laban good. And yet Laban was jealous of Jacob, ultimately, because he saw that God was with him. Now, if he said, thus the speckle shall be your wages, then all the flocks will speckle. And if he said, thus the shriek shall be your wages, then all the flocks will born shriek. So God has taken away the livestock of your father and given them to me. And it happened at that time when the flocks conceived that I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the flocks was shreked, speckled, and gray spotted. Then the angel of God spoke to me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, here I am. And he said, lift your eyes now and see. All the rams which leap on the flocks are shrieked, speckled, and gray spotted. For I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. So like, people would try to do you dirty, but God watching, God is seeing the whole time. The whole time God is seeing. So Laban, he signed up for the contract. He agreed to the contract because he thought he was winning. But the minute he realized that, not that he realized, but the minute that all the animals changed to speckle and spot, Laban was mad, and now he felt like Jacob was stealing from him. Jacob was never stealing from him. That was all of God doing. Because Laban was just being too greedy. So anyway, the angel of the Lord says, for I have seen all that Laban is doing to you. So guys, when you know you are doing righteous by somebody, well, righteous means faith. When we know you are being good to a person, when you know you are doing everything you can to be the best person you could be to somebody, and they not treating you right, trust me, don't sweat it, because God already see it. God see what they doing. He see how they cutting up on you. And at the end, you gonna win regardless. At the end, you gonna get what you need to get regardless. And you ain't gonna even have to work for it. You ain't even gonna have to do nothing. Like Laban, like Jacob was setting up the situation to where Laban could win, and God still made Jacob win. Jacob was setting Laban up to win when it was time for him to leave, and God still turned that situation to make Jacob win. because Jacob was doing the right thing. I am God of Bethel. I am the God of Bethel, where you anointed the pillar and where you made a vow to me. So now God is reminding Jacob of their covenant. God is reminding Jacob of the day that Jacob anointed the um the rock. Remember, Jacob had fell asleep on a rock, and he had the dream of the ladder going from earth to heaven and all the angels coming up and down, right? Where God was exposing himself to Jacob in a miraculous way in this dream. When he woke up, he was like, oh my goodness, surely this place is holy and righteous. So now God is reminding Jacob of that. He's reminding Jacob of the dream. Like, remember where you anointed the pillow and where you made a vow to me. Remember that. Remember that. You said you was going to serve me. Remember that. I'm going to need you to remember that, because you say as long as I'm with you, you will serve me. I need you to remember that, because I'm about to send you out of here, and it's going to be a long journey, a long trip, and it might be scary, but I need you to remember who I was the day you anointed. Yes, Elliot, the day you anointed that pillow. So God will absolutely remind you. He will absolutely remind you of the time where he took you out of poverty, out of the time where he healed you, out of the time where he took you away from people that wasn't righteous. God is going to remind you, because he's going to say, I need you to remember what I did, because I'm going to do it again. And it might be scary. It might be frightening, but I'm going to do it again. And you're going to win. You might have to walk through some trials and tribulations, but just remember who I am. Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate you. Right? He was like, because I need you to arise, get out of this land, and return to the land of your family. I need you to arise, get out of this land, and return to the land of your family. And remember, the land of his family, Esau was going to be there. So he knew that Jacob was scared, because Jacob wanted to leave, but he wanted to go to somewhere new, like not to where he'll have to face Esau again. So God's reminding him of who he is, because he's like, I need you to get up out your comfort zone, because where I'm sending you is back to where your brother Esau is at. But I need you to remember who I am, because you made a promise to me that if I stay with you, that I will be with you forever. You made that promise. Jacob made that promise to God, right? Jacob made that promise to God. So God is reminding him, like, remember? Thank you, Elliot. I appreciate you. So now, Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, is there still any portion or inheritance for us in our family's house and our father's house? Because Rachel and Leah is like, look, we don't want to be poor. We don't want to be broke. We don't want to do none of that. Like, is there anything for us before we leave? Because we don't want to just leave and not have anything for us. Rachel and Leah was a trip. Like, in a way, they was kind of selfish. Like, in a way, they really was. They was a trip. They was a trip. Are we not considered strangers by him? For he has sold us and also completely consumed our money. So now Rachel and Leah is like, listen, my father sold us to Jacob, and he never gave us $1 from that money. We his kids. Like, we not strangers. We should have reaped a reward from all that money he made. Jacob paid him for 14-year wage. A 14-year wage. And Leah and Rachel was like, we didn't get a dime. We didn't reap nothing from that. So what's tea? Like, can we get our money before we leave? Rachel and Leah, they were trips. So for all these riches which God has taken from our father are really ours and our children's. Like, run us our money. Rachel and Leah is like, they want their money from their father. But they were in an era where you know, women was not allowed to approach men in that type of way, like about money and business and things like that. Now then, whatever God has said to you, do it. So Rachel and Leah is like, look, our father did us dirty too. He ain't take care of us neither. So whatever God told you to do, do it, and we with it. Like you our husband, and do whatever it is you need to do. Then Jacob rose and set his sons and his wives on camels. So what I love is that Jacob went to his wives to tell his wives what he was about to do. Like, I love that. He didn't just go and do what he wanted to do. He went, he consulted with Leah and Rachel, told them everything that was about to happen, and they were on board. So he carried away all his livestock and all his possessions, which he had gained. He acquired livestock with which he had gained and put them around to go to his father Isaac in the land of Canaan. Now Laban had gone to share his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the household idols that was her father's. And Jacob stole away, unknown to Laban the Syrian, and that he did not tell him that he intended to flee. So now Jacob did not tell Laban that he was leaving and getting up out of there. And Rachel done stole they gods, they idol gods, from the house. So now Jacob done fled with all he had. He arose and crossed the river and headed towards the mountain of Gilead. And Jacob was told on a third day, Laban was told on a third day that Jacob had fled. Boy, was God protecting Jacob. Because Jacob fled. Laban doesn't know that Jacob had left. For 3 days, Laban don't know. Like, that's crazy. They must have been on a big, large, like, land, right? For Laban to not know that Jacob left for 3 days. Like, it must have been a big land. Because Jacob didn't leave by himself. He left with everything he had acquired while he was there, including his wife, his kids. Everybody was gone. So how 3 days went by and Laban had no idea that he left? That says a lot. That's a word that needs to be meditated on. All right. Then he took his brethren with him and pursued him for 7 days' journey, and he overtook him in the mountains of Gilead. But God had came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night. So God came to him in a dream, and he said to him, be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad. So God is warning him ahead of time. Like, watch how you speak to that one. Oh, I love that. I love that. I love that. Like, God literally showed up to Laban and told him, like, watch how you speak to Jacob. Like, watch how you speak to that one. That's my chosen prophet. That's mine. Watch how you speak to him. So you think God don't be pulling up on your enemies and confronting them on how they about to cut up with you? This is proof right here that he will pull up on your enemies in a dream and tell them, watch how they speak to you. I love that. I love that. He said, and God came to Laban in a dream at night. And he said to him, be careful that you speak to Jacob neither good nor bad. He pulled up to Laban in a dream, like, watch how you do that one right there. Watch it. Watch how you do him. I love that. So Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mountains, and Laban with his brethren pitched his tent in the mountains of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, what have you done that you have stolen away unknown to me, carried away my daughters like captives taken with the sword? Ordained minister here. Why did you flee away secretly and steal away from me and not tell me? For I might have sent you away with joy and songs, with timbrel and with harp. He So, what is interesting and powerful, right, is that Laban is trying to deceive. Laban is trying to deceive Jacob by saying, "Oh, oh, you should have told me you was leaving so I could have threw you a party and a celebration." No, he was never gonna throw you a party and a celebration. Because he didn't want you to leave in the first place. He was never going to do that. He was lying and trying to deceive Jacob again. Right? But he's watching how he speak to him. I'll tell you that. Why did you flee away secretly and steal away from me and not tell me? For I might have sent you away with joy and songs, with timbrel and harp, and you did not allow me to kiss my sons and daughters? Now you have done foolishly in doing so. You know what's hilarious? Somebody who don't follow God will always tell you you're foolish for following God. Somebody that don't follow God or the God of the heavens and the earth will always call you a fool for following God. What a word. What a word. It is in my power to do you harm. He's telling him, like, I could do you harm if I want to. I could really do you harm if I want to. But the God of your father spoke to me to leave. I see you left, and I really want to do you harm, but I can't because your God said I can't. But why are you stealing from me? Like, why are you stealing from me? Why are you stealing my gods? You got your own God. Why are you stealing my gods? Right? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, perhaps you would take your daughters from me by force, which whomever you find your gods, and wherever you find your gods, do not let him live. In the presence of our brethren, identify what I have that is yours, and take it with you. For Jacob did not know that Rachel had stole from him, or stole out of his tent. Jacob didn't know. So Jacob was like, look, if you find something that I stole from you, take it. Like, but I know I ain't steal from you. But also Jacob also didn't know that Rachel stole. So Laban went into Jacob's tent and Leah's tent, and in the two maids' tents, right? But he did not find them. Then he went out of Leah's tent and entered into Rachel's tent. Remember, Rachel's the one who stole. Now, Rachel had taken the household idols. Rachel's the one that stole. And she put them in the camel saddle and sat on them. So he was not about to find that anyway, because back in the day, they didn't even think that way. Like, they didn't think that. He probably would have never thought that his daughter would steal and then put it under her private parts. He wouldn't have been able to check there anyway. So Rachel have taken the household idols, put them in the camel saddle, and sat on them. And Laban searched all about the tent, but he did not find it. So Laban busy searching the tents, and the whole time Rachel had it. Then Jacob was angry, right? Because now Jacob was like, "Oh, you thought I stole from you? You know, you come in and you checking for me, you stalking me, you lying on me, you treating me so bad. You treated me so bad. And all I did was just be respectful to you. All I did was ever show integrity to you. You just treated me so bad." Jacob was angry and he rebuked Laban. And Jacob answered and he said to Laban, "What is my trespass? What is my sin that you have hotly pursued me? That you pursue me with this level of aggression, this level of anger? Like, what is my sin? What did I do for you to even come after me like this? You see that I ain't steal from you, I ain't take from you. Why are you stalking me? And although you have searched all the things, what part of your household things that you found? You didn't find nothing. Set it here before my brethren and your brethren, that you may judge between that they may judge between both of us." Right? These 20 years I have been with you. The oars, your female goats, have not miscarried once. Their youngs and I have not even eaten the rams of your flock. He said, but which was torn by beasts, I did not bring to you. I bore the loss of it. You returned it from my hand, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. There I was. In the day, the drought consumed me, the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus I have been in your house 20 years. I served you 14 years for your 2 daughters and 6 years for your flock. And you have changed my wages 10 times. Laban was violating Jacob, violating him, putting him through it. But I feel like that was Jacob payback for what he did to Esau. Unless the God of my father, the God of Abraham and the fear of Isaac, have been with me, surely now you would have sent me away empty-handed. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, these daughters are my daughters. These children are my children. Laban and Jacob is arguing. They are going at it. They are arguing. Jacob had enough. Jacob's like, look, I had enough. I done did this. I done did everything for you. I was righteous. I was good. I was faithful. I was holy. I did everything that I could do. And you still trying to find a way to violate me. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, these are my daughters. These children are my children. This flock is my flock. All that you see is mine. Laban he couldn't wait to say that to Jacob. He couldn't wait. He said, but what could I do this day that these my daughters or their children whom they have born? What could I do? What could I do? This is all my family, but what could I do? Because they your wives. They your children. So now therefore come, let us make a covenant, you and I, and let it be a witness between you and me. So now Laban want to go into covenant with Jacob. So Jacob took a stone and set it up as a pillar. Then Jacob said to his brethren, gather stones, and they took stones and made a heap. They made a pile, like a mountain, right? They took stones, made a mountain, and they ate there on the stone, on the top of the stone, right? And Jacob called in Jagar Sarahaduth, but Jacob called it Galid. And Laban said, this heap is a witness between you and me this day. Therefore his name is called Galid. Also Mizpah, because he said, may the Lord, so the word Mizpah means, may the Lord watch between you and me when we are absent one from another. If you afflict my daughters, or if you take otherwise besides my daughters, although no man is with us, see, God is witness between you and me. Then Laban said to Jacob, here is the heap, and here is the pillar which I have placed between you and me. This heap is a witness, and this pillar is a witness, that I will not pass beyond this heap to you, and you will not pass beyond this heap to me to do any type of harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, and the God of their father will judge between us. And Jacob swore by his father Isaac. So this is interesting because he said, if you afflict my daughters, or even if you take other wives besides my daughters, although no man is with us, God is my witness between me and you. So he like, yeah, I'm making a covenant with you. Don't play my daughters. Don't violate my daughters. I'm not mad at that covenant. I ain't mad at it. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice on a mountain, and he called his brethren to eat bread, and they ate bread and stayed all night on a mountain. And early in the morning Laban arose and kissed his sons and daughters, and he blessed them. Then Laban departed and returned to this place. chapter 32. So Laban went on his way, and the angels of God met him. I'm sorry, so Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. When Jacob saw them, he said, "This is God's camp," and he called the name of that place Mahanaim. Then Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother in the land of Seir, the country of Edom. And he commanded them, saying, "Speak thus to my lord Esau. Thus your servant Jacob says, I have dwelt with Laban and stayed there up until now." So for the last 20 years, I've been with Laban, but I'm coming back home. I have oxen, I have donkeys, flocks, male and female servants, and I have sent to tell you, my lord, that I may find favor in your sight. Then the messengers returned to Jacob, saying, we came to your brother Esau. Hear that his brother is on his way to meet him. His brother Esau, who he was beefing with, is on his way to meet him, and he has 400 men with him. Jacob has to be scared. Like, he had to be shooketh, okay? So Jacob was greatly afraid. Yep. So Jacob was greatly afraid and distressed, and he divided the people that were with him. And the flocks and the herds and the camels, he divided everybody into two companies. Kind of like the Noah Ark, right? And he said, if Esau comes, so he's speaking to the crowd. He's like, look, if my brother Esau comes to the one company and attacks it, then the other company that is left will escape. So he like, look, if my brother come, what part of the body of Christ are you? So he's like, if my brother come, right, to attack us, when he goes to the first group and attack it, the other group, y'all second group, go and flee. Get up out of there. So Jacob started to pray, right? He started to pray right away. He said, "O God of my father Abraham and God of my father Isaac, the Lord who said to me, return to your country and your family, and I will deal with you. I am not worthy of the least of all the mercies and of all the truth which you have shown to your servant. For I crossed over the Jordan with my staff, and now I have come to two companies. Deliver me, O God, I pray, from the hands of my brother, from the hands of Esau. For I fear him, lest he come and attack me, and the mother with the children. For you said, I will surely treat you well, and make your descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for a multitude." So Jacob is praying, right? Hi, Crystal. I love you. Good day. How are you? I love you. I hope you had a good night. We are on Genesis 32. Genesis 32. We read into Genesis 40. But we on Genesis 32 right now. And if you want to just have an idea of where we at. So now Jacob is heading back to his country town, and he done sent his messengers to speak to his brother Esau. He sent his messengers to speak to his brother Esau and notify Esau that he's coming back. And the messengers came back like, your brother is coming to meet us, and he got 400 men with him. So now Jacob is scared. He is shook. Okay? So Jacob is he set up his family into groups. So he did one group on one side, another group on another side. And he told them, like, listen, if anything happens with Crystal, back to Crystal, Jacob is saying, so the messengers came back, and the messengers is telling Jacob, listen, your brother is coming, and he got 400 men with him. So Jacob is scared. He's like, "Oh Lord, if he try, let's break up in two groups. Because if he if he come and attack one group, at least the other group could escape. But all of us shouldn't die. All of us don't need to die." So Jacob started praying and started reminding God of all that God had promised him and all that God had told him. And Jacob said this fire prayer. He said this fire prayer. He said, "Deliver me, I pray, from the hands of my brother, from the hands of Esau, for I fear him, lest he come and attack me and my wives and my children. For you said, I will surely treat you well." He's like, "God, remember you told me you was going to treat me well." He was like, "You said that you was going to make my descendants as the sand of the sea, which cannot be numbered for a multitude." So he's praying. He is praying, right? So he logged there that same night and took what came to his hand as a present for Esau, his brother. So in his prayer, Crystal, in his prayer, he is praying that God protects him, right? And he continued to move with faith, because when he slept there that night, he took some gifts so that way he can give to Esau. So he's like, surely I know he'll probably like this gift. Surely I know that he will like this gift, right? So now 200 female goats he took and 20 male goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams. Jacob had a lot of people, a lot of animals, a lot of everything when he left. 30 milk camels with their colts, 40 cows, 10 bulls, 20 female donkeys, and 10 fowls. Then he delivered them to the hand of his servants, right? So he like, look, if my servants go... Crystal, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, Crystal. Do not worry about it. Crystal, don't even entertain that. Like, we ain't doing none of that. God God handles all of this. Thank you. I appreciate you for having my back. But God already told me what to do. So, if you see me moving forward, you know that God already told me what I need to do. Right? So we ain't paying none of that no mind. All right? So now we staying focused. So Jacob is like, look, this is what I'll do. After Jacob done said his prayer, Jacob is like, how about I put all of the animals in front of the crew of the the groups. I'm gonna put all these gifts that I'm giving Esau. So if he see all these gifts, he's Esau. Jacob is like, surely if Esau see all these gifts, ain't no way he gonna try to come for me. So Jacob is just doing whatever he got to do. He like, because I don't want no problems. And I guess he still knows his brother in a way. Like, he grew up with him. He was raised with him. So he understands that it might lighten him up and put him in a better mood. Right? So he delivered all of these gifts, which was the animals, to the hand of his servants. Every drove by itself. And he said to his servants, pass over before me and put some distance between successor droves. And he commanded the first one, saying, when Esau my brother meet you and asks you, saying, to whom do you belong and where are you going? Who are these in front of you? Then you shall say, they are your servant Jacob. It is a present sent to my lord Esau. And behold, he is also behind us. So he commanded the second and the third and all who followed the drove, saying, in this manner you should speak to Esau when you find him. And also say, behold, your servant Jacob is behind us. For he said, I will appease with him presence that goes before me, and afterward I will see his face. Perhaps he will accept me. So the presence went over before him, but he himself lodged that night in a camp. And he arose that night and took his 2 wives, his 2 female servants, and his 11 sons, and crossed over the ford of Jabbok. He took them, sent them over the brook, and sent over what he had. Then Jacob was left alone, and a man wrestled with Jacob until the breaking of day. So now Jacob, he sent everybody out. He sent both of the two groups that he separated, and then he sent his servants ahead with all of the animals and a herd cattle that he was giving away to Esau. So now Jacob is left alone, and while Jacob is left alone, a man came and wrestled with Jacob until the breaking of day. So all night Jacob is wrestling with this man. Now, when he saw that he did not prevail against him, he touched the socket of his hip. And the socket of Jacob's hip was out of the joint as he wrestled with him. Jacob, first of all, Jacob was strong and powerful. Let me tell you why. Because I remember when Jacob first saw Rachel and he took the stone off the water well, when usually it would take multiple men to take that stone off that water well. Jacob took the stone off that water well when Rachel came so Rachel could feed her sheep. Now Jacob is fighting with the angels. And now when Jacob is fighting the angels, it is so powerful because Jacob is fighting the angel with his hip out of place. Like his hip is out of joint and he's still fighting the angels. Like Jacob was very strong, very powerful. And he said, "Let me go for the daybreak." But he said, "I will not let you go unless you bless me." So Jacob was fighting with this angel. Jacob knew that this was a holy spiritual fight. And Jacob was like, "I'm not letting you go. Hip out of joint. I don't care what it is. Hip could be out of joint. Hip could be out of place. Blood everywhere." Jacob was fighting, okay? So now the angel is saying, "Let me go." Well, they didn't say it was an angel. They said the man. So the man was saying, let me go before the day breaks, right? And Jacob is like, "I'm not letting you go until you bless me. You better bless me. I'm going to keep fighting." Jacob was strong. So he said to him, "What is your name?" And Jacob said, "Jacob." And the man said to Jacob, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with men, and you have prevailed." So now this is the first part of the Bible where it's telling us, because when it first said, it said Jacob was left alone and a man wrestled with him until the breaking of day. Now it's saying you have struggled with God and with man, and you have prevailed. So now that man that Jacob was struggling with was God. And it's so interesting because God said, "Let me go before the day breaks." And Jacob was like, "I ain't letting you go till you bless me." And he said, "Your name shall no longer be called Jacob, but Israel, for you have struggled with God and with man and have prevailed." Then Jacob asked, saying, "Tell me your name, I pray." And he said, "Why is it that you ask about my name?" And he blessed him right there. So Jacob called the name of the place Peniel, for I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. This makes me smile. This makes me happy because Jacob said, "I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved." Jacob is like, "I seen God face to face. I was fighting him all night. I wouldn't let him go until he blessed me." Powerful. Powerful, powerful, powerful. Just as he crossed over the Peniel, the sun rose on him and he limped on his hip. I love it. I love it. Jacob was fighting God with a broken hip. Jacob's hip was broken, out of place. He limped his way all the way back to where he limped his way back to where he had to go. So powerful. So powerful. But he wasn't giving up. He was like, I'm fighting until I get blessed. Therefore, to this day, the children of Israel do not eat the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip and the muscle that shrank. Yes, just like we talked about yesterday. Absolutely, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure, for sure. He said, therefore, the children. So now in the Bible, moving forward, whenever we hear the children of Israel, they're talking about the children of Jacob. Anytime you hear ever the children of Israel, they're not talking about a country, they're talking about the children of Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. And to this day, the children of Israel, which we know as Jacob, do not eat the meat, the muscle that shrank, which is on the hip socket, because he touched the socket of Jacob's hip and a muscle that shrank. So now when you're doing Bible study, it's good to go research that. Like, it's good to go research the shrink, the hip. It's good to research those places of the hip to see why those places on the hip was so important. Hold on. Sorry, guys. So, chapter 33. Now Jacob lifted his eyes and looked, and there Esau was coming, and with him were 400 men. So he divided the children among Leah, Rachel, and the two maidservants. And he put the maidservants and their children in front, Leah and her children behind, and Rachel and Joseph last. Isn't that something? He put, look at how he structured the positions of Leah and Rachel. He put the maidservants and their children front. So he put from the front who he cared about all the way down. He put the maidservants first, he put Leah second, and he put Rachel and Joseph last. Isn't that something? Then he crossed over before them and bowed himself to the ground 7 times until he came near to his brother. Right? But Esau ran to meet him and embraced him and fell on his neck and kissed him, and they wept. And he lifted his eyes and saw the woman and children and said, who are these with you? So he said, the children who have graciously given your servant. Then a maidservant came near, they and their children, and they bowed. And Leah also came near with her children, and they bowed. And afterwards Joseph and Rachel came near, and they bowed. Then Esau said, what do you mean by all of this company which I've met? And he said, these are to find favor in the sight of my Lord. But Esau said, I all them gifts that all of those gifts that Jacob set up to give Esau, Esau did not want any of those gifts. Esau was just so happy to see him, see his family, his nieces, his nephews, his brothers' wives, and all that Jacob came with, right? First to be the last, and the last to be set first. pretty deep. Pretty deep. Yes. And Jacob said, "No, please take it. If I have now found favor in your sight, then receive my presents from my hand, inasmuch as I have seen your face, as though I have seen the face of God, and you were pleased with me. Please take my blessing that I brought you, because God has dealt graciously with me, and because I have enough." So, excuse me, he urged him and he took it. Then Esau said, "Let us take our journey. Let us take our journey. Let us go, and I will go before you." But Jacob said to him, "My Lord knows that the children are weak, and the flocks and the herbs and the herds and the herds which are nursing are with me. And if the men should drive them hard one day, all the flock will die. Please let my Lord go ahead before his servant. I will lead on slowly at a pace with the livestock that goes before me, and the children are able to endure until I come to my Lord and Seir." And Esau said, "Now let me leave with you some of the people who are with me." But he said to him, Jacob said to him, "What need is there? Let me find favor in the sight of my Lord." So Esau returned that day on his way to Seir. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth, built himself a house, and made booths for his livestock. Therefore, the name of that place is called Succoth. Then Jacob came safely to the city of Shechem, which is in the land of Canaan, when he came from Padan Aram. And he pitched his tent before the city, and he built the parcel of the land where he had pitched his tents from there, and Hamor. Shechem fathered for 100 pieces of money. Then he erected an altar there, and it's called El Elohi Israel. Elohi Israel. El Elohi Israel. El Elohi Israel. El Elohi Israel. El Elohi Israel. Chapter 34. Now Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had born to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. Right? She's like, "Oh, I'm here. I'm in this new city. I'm in this new town. Let me go meet the other woman that's here. Let me make some friends. Let me get out. Let me see what's going on." Right? And when Shechem, the son of Hamor the Hivite, prince of the country, saw her, he took her, lay with her, and he violated her. So one of the men, the prince of the country, this is a prince, raped Jacob's daughter Leah. Raped her. Saw her, raped her. Isn't that wild? Yeah, so the Bible says that Leah, Jacob's daughter, she went out to meet the woman that's in the city that they just went to, the country that they just went to. And there was a prince there named Shechem, which was the son of Hamor. He was a Hivite, and he was the prince of that country. When he saw her, he took her, lay with her, he violated her, he raped her. He raped Jacob's daughter Leah. And his soul was strongly, here goes soul ties. You know how they talk a lot about soul ties? Here go soul ties. His soul was strongly attracted to Dinah, the daughter of Jacob. And he loved the young woman and spoke kindly to the young woman. So after he violated her and raped her, they got this soul tie. Because now his soul is strongly attracted to her. And he's like literally in love with this girl. But he just raped her. So Shishak, this is the prince that raped Leah, spoke to his father Hamor, which is the king. And he said, "Get me this young woman as a wife." First of all, she's supposed to be your wife first. You're not supposed to go rape her and then ask her to be your wife. She was supposed to be your wife first. And Jacob heard that he had defiled Dinah, his daughter. Now his sons were with the livestock in the field when this happened. So Jacob held his peace until they came. So now Jacob heard that his daughter just got raped. Now, this is something that should never be done, right? I know Jacob was going through it. And he's like, you know what? I'm not going to go and tell my son. I'm not going to go and tell my sons right now. I'm going to wait till they come back. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak to him. The audacity. So this man Shechem done raped Leah, and now he want to ask her hand in marriage. And then the father got the audacity to go to Jacob and ask Jacob for his daughter's hand in marriage. It's a lot of audacity happening right now. It's a lot of audacity. Then Hamor, the father of Shechem, went out to Jacob to speak to him. And the sons of Jacob came in from the field when they heard it, and the men were grieved and very angry, because he had done this disgraceful thing in Israel by lying with Jacob's daughter, a thing which ought not to be done. So the sons is pissed. They are angry. They like, this man raped our sister and he got the nerve to be asking to marry her? Are you serious? That's wild. But Hamor spoke with them, saying, the soul of my son Shechem longs for your daughter. Please give her to him as a wife, and make marriages with us. Give us your daughters, and take our daughters. So you shall dwell with us, and the land shall be before you. Dwell and trade in it, and acquire possessions for yourself in it. Then Shechem said to her father and brothers, let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me, I will give. So now Shechem is like, I want to give you this, I want to give you that. You know, I'll do whatever you say. Just tell me I want to marry your daughter. But how you want to marry somebody you just raped her? Like, he had the spirit of delusion. He was delusional. So you shall deal with us, right? And Shechem said to her father and her brothers, then Shechem said to Leah's father and brothers, let me find favor in your eyes, and whatever you say to me, I will give you. Ask me ever so much dowry and gifts, and I will give according to what you say to me. But give me the young woman as my wife. Now, Shechem is trying to bribe Jacob, but Jacob got money. Like, Jacob worked 14 years for his wives, so he's not worried about gifts from the prince at all. He doesn't care what the prince and the king can offer him, because Jacob is a man of valor. Like, he works hard for what he wants, and he already saw God face to face. He don't need nothing from nobody. He got his faith. He's a righteous man. He's full of integrity. He don't need these promises, but he's sitting there listening to them because this king and this prince think that they could buy Jacob. Right. But the sons of Jacob answered Shechem and Hamor his father and spoke deceitfully, because they had defiled Dinah their sister. And they said to him, we cannot do this thing to give our sister to one who's uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach for us. Right, Crystal, he got everything he needs. So here go the Bible describing what deceit is, right? Deceit is when you mix the truth with a lie. That's deceit. When you take the truth and you mix it with a lie. We see the enemy, we see Satan did that in the Garden of Eden when he did that to Eve. He took the truth and mixed it with a lie. And the Bible's describing what deceit is. They told the truth. They said to him, we cannot give our sister to one who's uncircumcised, for that would be a reproach to us. That's the truth. But the lie was that once he got circumcised, they wasn't giving up their sister anyway. They was about to kill all of them. So that's what deceit is, when you mix the truth with a lie. So they said to him, but on this one condition we will consent to you. If you will become as we are, if every male of you is circumcised, then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters for us. And we will deal with you, and you will become one people. So if you go get circumcised, we'll do business with you. But if you don't go get circumcised, we ain't doing no business with you. You see how they didn't take no gifts, they didn't take no money, they didn't take any of the luxuries. They said, go get circumcised. We got you. Go get circumcised. We got you. Then we will give our daughters to you, and we will take your daughters for us, and we will deal with you, and we will become one people. So we know that's a lie, because the Israelites is not marrying the Amorites or the Hittite. They're not yoked. Exactly. Crystal, you get it. Right? But if you will not heed to us and be circumcised, then we will take our daughters and we'll be gone. That was that was their only negotiation plans that they were willing to do. And Haman, okay, so the young men did not delay to do this thing because they delighted in Jacob's daughter. He was more honorable than all of the household of his father. Could you imagine how wicked they had to be? That this man, Shechem, the prince of this country, raped Leah, and the Bible said he was more honorable than any man in his household. So if this rapist was the most honorable of his household, could you imagine how wicked those men were? And Hamor the king and Shechem the prince and his son came to the gate of the city. Remember we spoke about gates yesterday, Crystal? And spoke with the men in their city, saying, these men are at peace with us. Therefore, let them dwell in the land and trade in it. For indeed, the land is large enough for us. Let us take their daughters to us as wives, and let us give them our daughters. Not only on this condition, we will consent to dwell with us, to be with one people, if every male is among us is circumcised, as they are circumcised. Will not their livestock, their property, and every animal of theirs be ours? Only let us consent to them, and they will dwell with us. So the king and the prince is talking to their people. They like, look, these men are willing to give us their daughters. They willing to give us their family, their money, everything they own if we get circumcised. So let's just get circumcised. Like, let's just do it. It's worth it, right? This is what the king and the prince is saying. And all who went out the gate of the city heeded to the king and the prince, right? Every male was circumcised. All who went out of the gate of the city was circumcised. Now, and it came to pass on the third day. Let me tell you about that third day, baby. Let me tell you about that third day. Now, and it came to pass on the third day when they were in pain, the two of the sons of Jacob, Simeon and Levi, Dinah's brother, each took his sword and came boldly upon the city and killed all the men. So all the men of this city, it just got circumcised. So it's like for instance, like a woman just having a baby. They were all out of commission. All out of commission. And the sons of Israel killed all of them. Yeah, they did. They killed all the males in that city. Yes, they did. And they killed the king, Hamor, and the prince, Shechem, his son, with the edge of the sword. Meaning they dug that thing in, baby. They dug that thing in. The edge of the sword, baby. They dug that thing to the teeth. And took Dinah from Shechem's house and went out. And the sons of Jacob came upon the slain and plundered. Plunder means stolen the city. Because their sister has been defiled. She was raped. They took their sheep, they took their oxen, they took their donkeys. Whatever was in the city, whatever was in the field, they took it. All their wealth. All the little ones, their wives, they took all of them captive. And they stole even all that was in the house. They took everything. Everything. Then Jacob said to Simeon and Levi, you have troubled me by making me obnoxious among the inhabitants of the land, among the Canaanites and the Perizzites. And since I am few in numbers, they will gather themselves together against me and a hoe. So you're supposed. Oh, it's back on. So Jacob's sons is like, so you supposed to let him treat our sister like a hoe? Chapter 35. Five more chapters and we done. Then Jacob said to, then God spoke to Jacob. He said, now remember, Jacob is a prophet. God is speaking to him. He said, arise, go up to Bethel and dwell there, and make an altar to God, who appeared to you when you fled from the face of Esau your brother. Right? So this is where Jacob had anointed the tree when he had the dream about the ladder going from earth and the angels coming, ascending and descending, right? So God is telling him, go back there. He was like, and Jacob said to the household and to all who was with him, put away your foreign gods that's among you, purify yourself and change your garments, change your clothes. Then let us rise and go up to Bethel, and I will make an altar there to God, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in a way which I have gone. So they gave Jacob all the foreign gods that was in their hands, the earrings which was in their ears, and Jacob hid them under the terebinth tree, which was by Shechem. And they journeyed, and the terror of God was upon the cities that were all around them, and they did not pursue the sons of Jacob. So Jacob came to Luz, that is Bethel, which is in the land of Canaan, he and all his people who were with him. And he built the altar there and called the place El Bethel, because there God appeared to him when he fled from the face of his brother. Now Deborah, Rebecca's nurse, died, and she was buried below Bethel under the terebinth tree. So the name of the place is called Alon Bachut. Bachut. Then God appeared to Jacob again when he came from Padan Aram, and he blessed him. And God said to him, your name is Jacob. Your name shall not be called Jacob anymore, but Israel. Also, God said to him, I am God Almighty. Be fruitful and multiply. A nation and a company of nations shall proceed from you, and kings shall come from your body. And the land that I give Abraham and Isaac, I'm going to now give it to you. And to your descendants after you, I will give this land. Then God went up from him in a place where he talked to him. So Jacob set up a pillar in that place where he talked with him, a pillar of stone, and he poured a drink offering on it, and he poured oil on it. And Jacob called the name of the place where he spoke to God with him Bethel. Then he journeyed from Bethel, and when there was but a little distance to go to Ephraim, Rachel labored in childbirth, and she had a hard labor. Now it came to pass when she was in a hard labor that the midwife said to her, do not fear, you will have this son. You're gonna birth this son. Don't be scared. And so it was, as her soul was departing, for she died, that she called his name Ben Oni, but his father called him Benjamin. So Rachel named him Ben Oni, but his father named him Benjamin. So the good thing about, like, when you study in the Bible, you want to research these things, like why she calls him Ben Oni, and why did Jacob call him Benjamin? Like, why the differences of the name? So Rachel died and was buried on her way to Ephraim, that is Bethel. And Jacob set a pillar on a grave, which is the pillar of Rachel's grave to this day. So what is very interesting is, sorry. What is very interesting is that after God came to speak to Jacob and prophesied to him the covenant again, right after that, Rachel have her son, she have Benjamin, and died. So I'm wondering, did God tell Jacob about that and we just don't know that? Or did God keep that from Jacob? Because like right after he had his meeting with Jacob, Rachel died. Then Israel journeyed and pitched his tent beyond the tower of Eder. And it happened when Israel dwelt in the land that Reuben went and lay with Bela. Reuben is reckless. Reuben is reckless. Reuben is Jacob's first son. He went and slept with Bela. Now Bela got kids by Jacob. So not only is she basically like a mother to you, but she also is your brother's mother. Like, how you do that? How you sleep with your brother's mother? Like, how do you do that? Like, I don't get it. How did Reuben do that? Reuben is the firstborn. He's Leah's son. Reuben is Leah's son. Bela had babies by Jacob. You funny. So that's your brother's mother? You slept with your brother's mother and your father's concubine? That was crazy. Like, that wasn't nothing new. That was steaming. That was something that was steaming ahead of time. That was something that was certainly steaming up ahead of time. And it just got spicy. Cause mind you, Jacob is grieving. He just lost Rachel. Rachel just died. Rachel just died. He got a new son. He's grieving. He's grieving. So now Reuben, the firstborn, is sleeping with Bela, his father's concubine. And when Israel heard about it, now the sons no, and they said and Israel heard about it. So one thing about back in biblical days, everybody heard about everything. Like, you couldn't keep nothing a secret. Like, everything was out there. Now the sons of Jacob was 12. The sons of Leah were Reuben, Jacob's firstborn, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Issachar, and Zebulun. The sons of Rachel was Joseph and Benjamin. The sons of Bela, which was Rachel's maidservant. So Bela is Rachel's maidservant, right? She had kids by Jacob because Rachel was barren. And Reuben, the firstborn, is sleeping with her. Crazy. So now her sons is Dan and Naphtali. So Dan and Naphtali is Reuben's brother. And Reuben is sleeping with his brother's mother. That is wild. That is wild. And then Zilpah, which was Leah's maidservant, her sons was Gad and Asher. These were the sons of Jacob who were born to him in Padan Aram. Then Jacob came to his father Isaac at Memrim and Ketha Abba, that is in Hebron, where Abraham and Isaac had dwelt. Now the days of Isaac were 180 years. So Isaac breathed his last breath, and he was gathered with all his people, being old and full of days, and his sons Esau and Jacob buried him. But how powerful is that? Like, Isaac lived to see so many generations. Like, I love that. Like, Isaac got to see all of it, like 4 generations. Like, wow, powerful. Chapter 36, we're almost done. Now, this is the genealogy of Esau, who is Edom. Esau took his wives from the daughters of Canaan, Ada and daughter of Elon the Hittite, the Aholibamath, the daughter of Anah, and the daughter of Zibeon the Hivite, and Basmath, which is Ishmael's daughters and sisters of, Nabajoth. Now Ada bore Eliphaz to Esau, and Basmath bore Ruel. And Alabamor bore Jehush, Jalam, and Korai. These were the sons of Esau who was born to him in the land of Canaan. Then Esau took his wives, his sons, his daughters, and all the persons of his household, his cattle, his animals, and all his goods that he has gained to the land of Canaan. And he went to a country away from the presence of his brother. So now Esau is taking everything that he owned and he's leaving. He's getting up out of Canaan. He's moving somewhere else. For their possessions, for them were too big for them to dwell together. And the land where they were strangers could not support them because of their livestock. So Esau dwelt in Mount Seir, Esau and Edom. And this is the genealogy of Esau, the father of the Edomites in Mount Seir. These were the names of Esau's sons. Eliphaz, the son of Ada, the wife of Esau. Excuse me, why I keep doing that? Ruel, the son of Bathmas, the wife of Esau. The son of Elisapha were Teman, Omar, Zepho, Gatham, and Kenaz. Then Timnah was the concubine of Elisapha. Nahath, Zerah, Shimei, and Mizah. These were the sons of Bathma, Esau's wife. These were the sons of Aholibah, Esau's wife, the daughters of Anah, and the daughter of Zibeon. And she bore Esau Jehuz, Jalam, and Korah. Esau had a lot of kids. Esau had a lot of kids. Yes, he did. And remember, God blessed, he had his blessings too. Like Esau, I said God blessed. Isaac was able to bless Esau as well. He didn't get the same blessing as Jacob, but he definitely was able to get his own blessing. So that's why the Bible is going through all of his family members, right? And all of like the members of his family, his wives, his kids, they kids, that whole generation. So now chapter 37, Jacob dwelt in a land. So if you want to know, like, it's great to do a Bible study on how genealogy occurred and how people got mixed up, like mixed to different parts of the country. And some people went here, some people went there. Because here in Genesis 36, it pretty much breaks down all these different regions and the chiefs of Eden, according to their dwelling places, the land they possessed it, and basically saying that Esau was the father of the Edomites. So anytime we read anywhere in the Bible where it talks about the Edomites, those are Esau and his people. They all came from Esau and his people. Okay, chapter 37. Now Jacob dwelt in a land where his father was a stranger, and in the land of Canaan. This is the history of Jacob. Joseph, being 17 years old, was feeding a flock of his brothers, and a lad, which is boy, was with the sons of Bela and the sons of Zipha, his father's wives, and Joseph bore a bad report of them to his father. Now Israel loved Joseph more than all his other children, because he was the son of his old age. Also, he made him a tunic of many colors. That was a... Thank you, Crystal. So now Israel loved Joseph more than all his children because he was the son of his old age. Also, he made him a tunic of many colors. So anytime a son of the family had on a tunic, especially of many colors, that means they had high stature. Like they had high titles, high stature, right? But when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all his brothers, they hated him and they could not speak peaceably to him, which means they were jealous. They were jealous of him. They were very, very jealous of him. Now, Joseph had a dream and he told it to his brothers and they hated him even more. So basically, they were jealous of him. So he said to them, "Please hear this dream which I have dreamed. There we were, binding sheaves in the field. Then behold, my sheaf arose and stood upright." So what it so okay. You know what's funny? I feel like um, Joseph, Joseph knew that his brothers was jealous of him, and I feel like he was just rubbing it in their face. Like, oh, y'all jealous? All right, cool. Now I'm gonna rub it in your face. Cause he's like, please hear this dream that I have dreamed. Like, why are you telling these men your dream and they jealous of you? They can't stand you. They don't talk to you with no kind of peace. They don't talk to you with no kind of if they not talking to you with peace, to me that's they're not talking to you with no respect. Right? At all. They so he's like, here's my dream. There we was bonding sheaves in the field. Then behold, a sheaf arose and stood upright. Excuse me, and indeed she stood all around and bowed down to my sheaf. And his brother said to him, "Oh, shall indeed you reign over us? Or shall you indeed have dominion over us? Like, who you think you is?" They hated him even more for his dream and for his words. Then he dreamed still another dream, right? So listen, Joseph is funny because he's still telling these people his business after he know that they don't like him and that they're jealous of him. He's still telling them they dream, right? So he like, "Oh, listen to the second dream. I have dreamed another dream, and this time the sun, the moon, and the 11 stars bowed down to me." So he told it to his father and his brothers, and his father rebuked him and said to him, "What is this dream that you have dreamed? Shall your mother and I, your brothers, indeed come and bow down to the earth before you?" And his brothers envied him, but his father kept the matter in mind. Then his brothers went to feed their father's flock in Shechem. And Israel said to Joseph, "Are not your brothers feeding a flock in Shechem? Come, I will send you to them." So he said to them, "Here I am." Then he said to him, "Please go and see if it is well with your brothers and if it is well with the flocks, and bring word back to me." So he sent him out to the valley of Hebron, and he went to Shechem. Now, the interesting thing is that I don't think Jacob understood the severity of his son's jealousy when it came to Joseph. Because if he understood how jealous they were of Joseph, he would have never sent Joseph to go meet them and find out anything about them. Because he would have knew how jealous they were of him. And plus, I wonder what make Joseph say like, "Oh, go watch out for your brothers," because it's 9 of them. It's 10, well, 11 of them, and it's one of Joseph. Like, they're good. They don't need Joseph. Now the certain man found him, and there he was wandering in the field. And the man asked him, saying, "What are you seeking?" So he said, "I'm seeking my brothers. Please tell me where they are. Are they feeding their flock?" And the man said, "They have departed from here, but I heard them saying, 'Let's go down to Doctor.'" So Joseph went after his brothers, and he did. He found them in Doctor. Now when they saw him from afar off, even before he came close to them, they conspired against him to kill him. They was like, "Look, there go Joseph. Let's do something to him. Let's kill him." And they said to one another, Look, the dreamer." So they were mocking him. They was like, "Look, the dreamer is coming. Come therefore, let's kill him and cast him into some pit, and he should die, and some wild beasts devour him. We shall see that what will become of his dream, right? He want to be a dreamer. He want to have all these dreams, but how about we kill him and yeah, we'll see about his dream, right? So they really wasn't going against Joseph. They was going against God, because clearly those dreams came from God. Those dreams didn't come from Joseph. So they wasn't going against Joseph. They was going against God, right? And but when Reuben heard it, Reuben being the firstborn, so he had some type of sense. I don't know what, because in one aspect he was sleeping with his father's concubine, but in another aspect, he doesn't want to kill Joseph. So he had some sense with him. When kill him, let's not go so far. Calm down. And Reuben said to them, shed no blood, but cast him into the pit, which is in the wilderness, and do not lay hands on him, that he might be delivered, that he might deliver him out of their hands and bring him back to his father. So he said, no, we're not going to kill him. This is what we're going to do. We gonna dump him in the ditch, and when somebody finds him, they'll come and return him back to his father. So we'll just spook him out and scare him, but we're not gonna kill him. So it came to pass when Joseph came to his brothers that they stripped him of his tunic and a tunic of many colors that was on him. So the same tunic that yes, Crystal, absolutely. So the same tunic that his father made him to put him on his high pedestal. This how you know they were so jealous of him, because the first thing they did when they started attacking him was tearing down that tunic. Boy, that tunic sent them through the roof. That tunic pissed them off. Then they took him and cast him into a pit, and the pit was empty. There was no water in it. They was trying to do him dirty, and they sat down to eat a meal. Like, wait, what? Y'all just cast y'all brother in a pit naked, pretty much. No food. And y'all went and ate afterwards? And they sat down and ate a meal. Then they lifted their eyes and looked. There was company of Ishmaelites coming from Gilead with their camels, bearing spices, balm, and myrrh, on their way to carry them down to Egypt. So Judah said to his brothers, what profit is there if we kill our brother and conceal his blood? So Judah, from the tribe of Judah, he like, why don't we make money from this? Like, why are we gonna kill him and not make $1 off of it? Let's make some money from this. These brothers is something, right? Let's sell him to the Ishmaelites, and let not our hand be upon him. So now remember, the Ishmaelites is their family too. Is Jacob's brother. Like, the Ishmaelites is the not Jacob brother. That is Isaac brother, and Isaac was Jacob's father. So the Ishmaelites would be Jacob's cousins, which would be the tribe of Judah's second cousins, right? So they were second cousins. So they like, so Judah like, look, let's sell him and make some money. Like, we ain't gonna do this for free. We might as well sell him and make some money. And let not our hand be upon him. For after all, he is our brother and he is our own flesh. So the other brothers listens like, yeah, that's a good idea. Then the Midianite traders passed by. So the brothers pulled Joseph up and lifted him out the pit and sold him to the Ishmaelites for 20 shekels of silver. They killed Jesus for 30 shekels, and they sold Joseph for 20. Then Reuben returned to the pit, and indeed Joseph was not in the pit. So Reuben tore his clothes. Reuben like, oh Lord, they killed this man, right? And when he returned to his brothers, he said, the lad is no more, the boy is no more, and where shall I go? So they said, because remember, Reuben is the oldest, so if something happens to him, the father's gonna blame Reuben because Reuben is the oldest. So Reuben like, if he done died, what y'all expect gonna happen to me? I already got beef with my father. I've been sleeping with his concubine. Now you want me to go back and tell him that his son died? Like, Reuben going crazy. Reuben like, we can't do this. So they took Joseph's tunic, killed a kid of the goat, and dipped the tunic in the blood. Then they set the tunic of many colors, and they brought it to their father and said, we have found this. Do you know whether it is your son tunic or not? And he recognized it and said, it is my son tunic. A wild beast has devoured him. Without doubt, Joseph is torn into pieces. Then Jacob tore his clothes, put cloth on his waist, and he mourned for his son many days. Now, I had did some research on cloth, and it's like that burlap material. So that stuff hurt on your skin. So if somebody put that on, they were in pain. Like, not physically, not only mentally, but they were physically in pain because that material hurt. That cloth material, it hurts real bad. So he put that on his waist and he mourned for many days. And all his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him. But he refused to be comforted. And he said, for I shall go down into the grave to my son in mourning. So Jacob is like, I'm going to die mourning for my son. Like, he's saying that he's never getting over it. That's basically what he's saying. And he just wept. Now the Midianites had sold him in Egypt to Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh and a captain of the guards. Chapter 38. Yep. It came to pass, we got 2 more chapters and we done. It came to pass at that time that Judah departed from his brothers and visited a certain Adulamite, which name was Hira. And Judah said there, a daughter of a certain Canaanite, whose name was Shur, and he married her and went into her. So she conceived and bore a son, and he called his name and conceived again and bore a son, and called his name Onan. And she conceived yet again and bore a son, and called his name Shelah. He was at Shizib when she bore him. Let me see. It says the last thing I got from you is that is rough. What you were saying was rough. We're almost done. We have 2 more chapters and we done. Then Judah took a wife for his firstborn, and her name was Tamar. But Judah's firstborn, was wicked in the sight of the Lord, and the Lord killed him. So now, has a wife. His wife name is Tamar, and they killed him. So now Tamar is a widow. Tamar is a widow. She has no husband because her husband just died. So Judah said to Onan, go into your brother's wife and marry her, and raise up an heir for your brother. And Onan knew that the heir would not be his. And it came to pass when he went into his brother's wife that he basically ejaculated on the ground. He was like, I am not ejaculating in this woman because I don't want her. She's not an Israelite, and he didn't want nothing to do with her because he didn't want that type of energy in his family or on his bloodline. So he ejaculated on the floor. He was like, because I'm not giving her an heir. I'm not giving her an heir at all. And the thing which he did displeased the Lord. That was a heavy deception. That was like a heavy deception, and God was not pleased with that at all, that he did that. He should have just said no. Like, he should have, technically he couldn't, because He's the oh, technically he couldn't because he is an heir, right? So he couldn't deny it. But God's like, I would have rather you not sleep with her than to sleep with her and ejaculate on the floor. So God was very displeased by what he did. Therefore, God killed him too. Then Judah said to Tamar, his daughter-in-law, remain a widow in your father's house till my son Shelah is grown. For he said, least he also die like his brothers. And Tamar went and dwelt in her father's house. Why is all of Tamar men dying? That's the biggest question. That's the question we gotta ask. Why are the men that Tamar marrying dying? And why are they so wicked? Now, in a process of time, the daughter of Shaw, Judah's wife, died, and Judah was comforted and went up to his sheep shearers in Timnah, and he and his friend Hira and Adolamite. And it was told to Tamar saying, look, your father-in-law is going up to Tamar to shear his sheep. So she took off her widow's garment, covered herself with a veil, and wrapped herself, and sat in an open place which was on her way to Timnah. For she saw that Shelah was grown, and she was still not given to him as a wife. When Judah saw her, he thought that she was a hoe because she had covered her face. So then he turned to her by the way and said, please let me come into you. For he did not know that she was his daughter-in-law. So she said, what will you give me that you may come into me? And he said, I will send you a young goat from the flock. So she said, well, will you pledge me that you gonna send this? Like, is this a promise? Like, how I'm gonna know that you gonna do this? First of all, the amount of deception, like, we just keep reading about deception after deception after deception. That spirit of deception is just running wild. So now she's like, I need you to promise me that you're gonna do this because I don't got no time. Then he said, what pledge shall I give you? And she said, your signet and your cord and your staff that is in your hand. So like this is all power moves. Like she's asking basically for his power. Like his signet ring, that is his stamp, right? And then his stick that's in his cord, well, he's a son to a prophet. So why is he giving up these things? Like he's clearly out of he's not thinking in his mind. So she arose and went away and laid aside her veil and put on the garments of her widowhood, right? But at this point, she done slept with him and she's pregnant. And Judah sent the young goat by the hands of his friend, the Amnalite, to receive his pledge from the woman's hand, but he did not find her. Then he asked the men of that place, saying, Where's that harlot who was on the open who was openly by the roadside? Like, where is she? And they said, there was no harlot by that place. So he returned to Judah and said, well, I can't find her. Also, the men in that place said there was no harlot in this place. Then Judah said, let's take them for her. Judah said, let her take them for herself, lest we should be shamed. For I sent this young goat you have not found her. So now, of course, they wasn't gonna find her because remember, she was sneaking there. She wasn't like a regular harlot that they would see in that area. She actually snuck there specifically for Judah. So it came to pass about 3 months after that Judah was told, saying, Tamar, your daughter-in-law, has played the harlot. Furthermore, she is with child by harlotry. So Judah said, bring her out and let her be burned. So now Judah is hearing that Tamar was being a hoe, and he's like all angry and mad, and he's like, bring her here, I'm a killer, right? The audacity. So now When she was brought out, she sent to her father-in-law saying, by the man to whom these belong, I am with child. And she said, please determine who these are, the signet and the cord and the staff. So Judah acknowledged them and said, she has been more righteous than I, because I did not give her to Shelah my son. And he never knew her again, meaning he never slept with her again. So what was crazy is that Tamar knew what she was doing because she knew she was going to get pregnant. So when she told Judah to promise her, first of all, she know that Judah is a stand-up guy. So when she told Judah to promise her that and give her these things so that she knows that he's going to do right by her, she was saying that because she knew she was going to get pregnant. And she knew she was keeping those things for a time like this. When they found out she pregnant, they will go to Judah because he's the son of a prophet, and they will ask for him to judge this case righteously, and then she will blackmail him. This same Tamar.
Mom, can you lower down your voice, please?
Okay. This is the same Tamar who all her husbands died. So that was her spirit, her wickedness. Now it came to pass at that time for giving birth that behold, twins was in her womb. And so it was when she was giving birth that the one put out his hand, and the midwife took a scarlet, a red thread, and bound it on his hand, saying, this one came out first. Then it happened as he drew back his hand that his brother came out unexpectedly. And she said, how did you break through? This breach be upon you. Therefore his name was called Perez. And afterward his brother came out who had the red scarlet thread on his hand, and his name was called Zerah. Chapter 39. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt, and Potiphar, the officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a successful man. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. And his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all he did prosper in his hand. So Joseph found favor in his sight and served him. Then he made him an overseer of his house, and all that he had he put under his authority. So it was from the time that he made him an overseer of his house and all that he had, that the Lord blessed the Egyptian house for Joseph's sake. And the blessings of the Lord was on him and all that he had in the house of the field. Now we know that God will bless you, will bless people because of you. God will bless people because of you. But the wild thing is that sometimes people are being blessed because of you, and the whole time they think that they the blessing, when they have never been the blessing. It has always been you that have always been a blessing, and they just reaped the benefit of that. And we know that because when Jacob was living with Laban was being blessed because of Jacob. Now Joseph is living with the Egyptians, and they're being blessed because of Joseph. Where we at? And the blessing of the Lord was on all that he had in the house and in the field. Thus he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and he did not know what he had except for bread which he ate. Now Joseph was a handsome in form and appearance. Joseph was fine, you hear me? And it came to pass after these things that his master's wife cast long eyes on Joseph, and she said, please lie with me. So Joseph was, Crystal, you say you needed to hear that? I needed to hear that too. But Joseph was so fine that this lady wanted to sleep with him and have him cause all type of adultery, fornication, all kind of sin. She was smitten, but he refused. Joseph refused. He said to his master's wife, "Look, my master does not know what is with me in this house, and he has committed all he have in my hand. How dare you? There is no one greater in this house than me, nor has he kept back anything from me but you," which is his wife. So how then could you do this great wickedness and sin against God? So Joseph is like, not only are you sinning against, he must have been something too. Oh, he was fine. Not only Joseph was a man of integrity, just like his father. He was like, not only are you trying to sin against your husband, you are sinning against God. Like, how could you do that? Like, how are you willing to sin against God? Like, first of all, your husband treat me good. He take good care of me. I'm like the second in command. There's no one greater in this house than me. What's wrong with you? Like, I feel like Joseph was like, what's wrong with you? Like how could you do this? Like, why would you do this? So it was as she spoke to Joseph day by day. So every day she was trying to get up in Joseph's pants. This lady would not give up. Every day. He ignored her. He didn't take the bait. He ain't lie with her. He didn't want to be with her. He didn't take the bait. He just was like ignoring it. But it happened about this time when Joseph went into the house to do his work. Nobody was in the house. Only Joseph was in the house. She caught him by his garment. She all pulling on him and trying to be all up on him. And and a piece of his garment must have got ripped off, and it was in her hand, and he hurried up and fled outside because she trying to sleep with him and do the most, and he was not with it. He ran from her, but pieces of his garment got left in her hand. So it was when she saw that he had left his garment, her wickedness and her deceit, she ran and lied and told the men in her house that he was trying to rape her. I wonder if I don't see people as attractive as I used to. Maybe it's because of all the sin in the world. What what you mean by that? Boy, am I sleepy. What do you mean by that? When you was younger, what happened when you was younger? Let me finish because I am almost done. You said when you was younger. What happened when you was younger? So now the king's wife is lying. She like, oh, he came, he tried to sleep with me. I was crying, I was yelling, so he ran. So what happened when they heard it? And it happened when he heard that. So she's telling this story that, oh, he tried to sleep with me and I started screaming. And when I started screaming, he ran. And when he heard that I was screaming, he ran. And when he ran, he left his garments with me. So then she spoke to him with words like this, saying, the Hebrew servant whom you brought to us came into me to mock me. So she's basically trying to say that Joseph tried to rape her. So what happened as I lifted my voice and cried out that he left his garment with me and he fled outside. So it was when his master heard these words, the master, right, is hearing words from his wife saying that his right hand man tried to rape her. So he's going to believe his wife. Like, he has no reason to believe that his wife will lie about something like this and deceived him. So, of course, the master, he was angry. So the Bible says, then Joseph's master took him and put him in prison, a place where the king's prisoners was confined. And he was there in prison. So now this is the first time Joseph went to prison. Joseph is in prison right now because his master's wife lied on him and said that he tried to rape her. But the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all that were in the but the Lord was with Joseph, of course, and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. So God is showing up in the Bible, showing his mercy with people that are in prison. And the keeper of the prison committed to Joseph's hand all that was the prisoners who were in the prison. Whatever they did there, it was his doing. The keeper of the prison did not look into anything that was under Joseph's authority because the Lord was with him. So the keeper of the prison trusted Joseph, completely trusted him because the Lord was with him. And whatever he did, the Lord made it prosper. So everywhere Joseph go, he's finding favor. He's finding all kind of favor over his life because God is with him. So when you are prospering and finding favor everywhere you go, it's because God, the favor of God is upon you. All right, people are more attractive, and I think maybe it's because the sin in the world is making people less attractive. My mom can't find a man because she can't find anybody attractive. Maybe it's not the man that have got uglier, but maybe it's the sin in the world that's making people uglier. Absolutely. Absolutely. 1,000%. 1,000%. 1,000%. I agree with you. We on chapter 40, so we almost done. God's good. I'll get a godly man and we'll be okay. You never finished telling me what happened to your husband. You never finished telling me what happened to your husband. Because you said you had got married. So what happened to your husband? Chapter 40. Excuse me, guys. It came to pass that after these things that the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt offended their lord, the king of Egypt. So now the Bible's about to speak to us about the spirit of offense. What happens when somebody's offended by you? Pharaoh was angry with his two officers, which was the chief butler and the chief baker. He was angry with them and he was offended by them. Right? So he put them in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, in the prison, the place where Joseph was confined to. And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them, and he served them so that they were in custody for a while. Then the butler and the baker of the king of Egypt, who were confined in prison, both of them had a dream. Both of them, each man dreamed in one night, and each man dreamed its own interpretation. And Joseph came into them in the morning and looked at them, and he saw that they was sad. Hold on, wait, let me finish reading this. So he asked, let me finish reading this chapter. We're going to do a quick discussion, and then I'm going to get up off of here. So he was separated to be elevated. Sometimes rejection is God's blessing. He couldn't get where God wanted him to be while in Potiphar's house. I feel like that Joseph had to go. Well, thank you for your input. Wow, great perspective. Thank you for your input. But in addition, if I could add to that perspective, the reason why God needed, okay, so one, there was deception that was going on, right? So the spirit of lust was on Potiphar's wife, right? So Potiphar's wife was dealing with the spirit of lust. That spirit was trying to get after Joseph, and when it couldn't get to Joseph, it went against Joseph and began to lie and deceive, right? That's what got Joseph into jail. But Joseph needed to be there. Why? Because God needed Joseph to interpretate these dreams, right? Because God was going to use this same situation to get Joseph out of jail forever. So, you know how that Bible verse says, all things work together for those who trust in the Lord? So, God was also working and refining Joseph's faith and his trust. Like, are you still going to trust me? Are you still going to love me? Even when you are coming against things that you don't feel you need to come up against, are you going to are you going to continue to burn your flesh and continue to serve me, whether you're in a White House or if you're in a shelter? Like, how are you still going to show up in your faith regardless of where I put you in life? So I feel like God was just testing Joseph's faith, right? How much Joseph trusted God, because he went from the White House, being the castle that he was in, to jail. So God's like, wherever I put you in life, are you still going to serve me? But God was also confirming his covenant that he made with Jacob. He was confirming that covenant in Joseph by saying, I will be with you regardless of where you at. If you're in the pit, I'm going to be with you. If you're in the White House, I'm going to be with you. If you're in prison, I'm going to be with you. So God was just confirming a covenant with Joseph. Because remember, Joseph don't know God on this level. So God is refining him. God is dipping him in gold. And he's humbling him. He's teaching him certain lessons that Joseph is going to need to have. Because the place that Joseph is about to go, Joseph is going to need to be humbled. Joseph is going to need to trust God. Joseph is going to need to have faith. He's going to need to build his relationship with God, because the position that Joseph is about to be in, he's going to know that only God put him there. Jesus. Like, God definitely be refining us, because the positions that he's going to put us in, we need to know only God could put us there. You understand? Because if Joseph would have stayed in Potiphar's house, he would have forgot that he was only there because God put him there. Why? Because Potiphar would have continued to bless him. Potiphar would have continued to give him things, and Joseph would have forgot how he got there in the first place. So God had to keep him humble, so he know that his blessings only come from God. Love it. I love it. I love it. Where was we at? Okay, we at chapter 40, because this the last chapter and we done, you guys. Because I'm tired. I've been on here since 6 and it's 8:31. I am tired, okay? This is the last chapter. And it came to pass after these things that the butler and the baker, so we were talking about the butler and the baker. So Joseph came into them in the morning. He looked at them and he saw that they were sad. So Joseph said to them, what's going on? Why you look so sad? And they said to him, we each had a dream, and there's no interpretation of it. Like, we don't even understand his dream. So Joseph said to them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me your dream. Tell me your dream, so that way I can interpret it for you, because I'm going to go to God and pray about it, and God going to reveal these dreams to me, and I'm going to let you know what's going on. So the chief butler told Joseph the dream and said to him, behold, in my dream was a vine that was before me, and in the vine with 3 branches. Here go the number 3. This is what the number 3 means. Well, when you see 3 branches, it was tough and budded, and blossoms shot forth, and its clusters brought forth ripe grapes. Then Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them in Pharaoh's cup, and placed the cup in Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said to them, this is the interpretation of the dream. So if you ever had a dream like this, here's the interpretation of it. Joseph said the 3 branches are 3 days. So if you ever had dreams about like tree branches and you can remember the number of it, that's representing days according to Joseph's interpretation. So the 3 tree branches represents 3 days. Now, what's going to happen in those 3 days is you will lift your head and Pharaoh will lift your head and restore you to your place. And you will put Pharaoh's cup in his hand according to the former manner where you was his butler. But please remember me when it is well with you, and please show me kindness. Make mention of me to Pharaoh and get me out this house. I do not want to be in prison no more. For indeed I was stolen away from the land of the Hebrews. And also I have done nothing here that should put me in this dungeon. Like, I don't belong here. He was having his Jesus moment. He was dying on the cross. This was his dying on the cross moment, right? He said, now when the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said to Joseph, I also was in a dream, and there were 3 white baskets on my head. So now this interpretation, so one interpretation is about a vineyard with blossoms and grapes and cups and feeding and drinking, right? And that was a good dream. But now there's another dream about a basket on a head. 3 white baskets on a head. And the uppermost basket was all kind of baked goods. So they both had dreams about food. One had dreams about drinks, and another had dreams about baked goods. The dreams about the baked good was not good, was not a good dream. The dreams about the beverages were good dream, right? So all kind of baked goods for Pharaoh. Now, here's what made this dream a bad dream. The birds ate them out of the basket that was on my head. So Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 baskets were for 3 days, right? Within the 3 days, Pharaoh will lift off your head from you and hang you on a tree. And the birds will eat your flesh. Now, and it came to pass on the 3rd day, which is Pharaoh's birthday, that he made a feast for all his servants and lifted up the head of the chief butler and of the chief baker among his servants. Then he restored the chief butler to his butlership and placed a cup in Pharaoh's hand. But he hung the chief baker as Joseph had interpreted. Yet the chief butler did not remember Joseph, but he forgot him. So tomorrow we're going to start back at chapter 41. We are done for today. Let me get into some of these comments. Potiphar wanted him to stay because he saw he was being blessed by Joseph's presence. Absolutely. He knew that them blessings wasn't coming from him. He knew that he was definitely being blessed by the God of Joseph, the God of the Hebrews. Is it 6 p.m. every day? Yup, we do 6 p.m. every single day until March 11th. She said that. Not sure if you were here. Oh, okay. If you have 2 ropes, you can pull them apart easily. But if a braid is much harder to tear apart, another example of covenant, of marriage. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's Bible scripture, too. In the Bible, it definitely says that. It says a braided cord is better than a one standalone cord. So, yep, that is so true. But dream interpretation, it was interesting. We want to learn about dream interpretation. We can read the book of Daniel, definitely talks about dream interpretation. The book of Ezekiel talk about dream interpretation, and then Joseph was good at dream interpretation. So there's a bunch of different stories that we could learn about dreams in the Bible. But so far, Genesis has been given the meat. You hear me? Genesis have been given the meat. That other guy that was on here, Crystal, that other guy that was on here, that was not a man of God. That's why I was ignoring everything he was saying. I don't know where that spirit came from. Look at the name, Stink Bug Deity. He's not from God. That was a wow. That is not a godly man. That's why I ignored him. That was crazy. But thank you, Crystal, for having my back. I appreciate you. But trust me, if you see me ignoring something, just know I know better. And God already revealed to me what he needed to reveal to me. So you just gotta ignore it and keep it moving. You don't entertain it because they be wanting energy and you can't give it to them. Great job. I enjoyed the part I came into. Thank you. I appreciate you. Budget with love. I appreciate you so much. Thank you. And I hope to see you here tomorrow at 6. I hope you both have a wonderful night, and I just absolutely pray that God be with you, that the Spirit of God fills you with completeness, with love, with abundance, with prosperity, with the dew of heaven, and that any unclean spirits that's trying to come up against you, I pray that they turn into dust, not even wind will want to consume them. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Y'all have a good night. God bless y'all. Love y'all. And I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.